Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Meet ALTEN. My name is Ramon Oz, and I'm going to be telling you something about technical software at ALTEN. So here's a short overview of what I'm going to be talking about. First off, I'll give a small introduction. Then I'll talk about what technical software at ALTEN is exactly. Then we're going to have a look at an overview of what my past year looked like. And at the end, there will be time for questions. All right, so who am I? So I am the technische informatica guy, or as you'd say in English, the computer engineering guy. I have a background in computer science and electrical engineering, and I joined ALTEN almost 4 years ago now. So the business unit that I joined is the one in Apeldoorn. It's one of our 5 locations in the Netherlands. We're located in Groningen, Amstelveen, Capelle aan de IJssel, Apeldoorn, and Eindhoven. So what you're seeing here in the picture is the office in Apeldoorn, Osseveld, next to the train station. And we have about 50 colleagues there now, all with a range of different backgrounds, from computer science, mathematics, to biomedical engineering, industrial product design, psychology. But what we all have in common is that we have a strong passion for technology. So then what is technical software exactly? So one of the specialties of ALTEN is technical software engineering. Technical software at ALTEN is divided into 4 domains. So we have embedded systems, simulation and modeling, monitoring and control, and business critical systems. So what you're looking at here is a picture of our sectorial footprint. So these are all the sectors that ALTEN is active in. And as a technical software engineer, we support our clients with anything ranging from R&D to process and manufacturing engineering, building IT applications, network architecture, support, and anything else that a technically oriented company might be interested in. So to give you a better understanding of what a technical software engineer at ALTEN does exactly, I thought it would be a good idea to have a look at what my past year looked like. So the majority of my time last year, about 70%, was spent on what we call consultancy and engineering. So as a technical software consultant at ALTEN, you'll work together with your business manager to find projects that either match your skill set or that allow you to develop new skills that you're interested in. So over the past year, I've worked with BDR Thermia on climate control systems, with Arbor Media on broadcasting and conferencing solutions, with MopExact on ground penetrating radars, and with GPRO on safety systems. Now, not every consultant spends time with more than one customer in a given year, but I was fortunate enough to match with more than one project, and I like the variety, so I gladly took the chance to work on more than one project over the past year. Now, even though consultancy and engineering is the biggest portion of what you'll be doing as a technical software consultant at ALTEN, there are a bunch of other things that we do as well. So within ALTEN, knowledge sharing is pretty important. So we regularly organize crash courses, playgrounds, and trainings on all different kinds of subjects. So over the past year, I've given a couple of crash courses and playgrounds myself, one on a programming language called Clojure, but also on topics like continuous integration and continuous deployment. So next to knowledge sharing, the social component is also pretty important. So every month we have monthly meetings with the business unit, and that's a good moment to catch up with colleagues and have a little bit more of an informal talk. Additionally, we like to do company outings that we organize. There's also outings that we organize by ourselves. So sometimes a couple of colleagues decide, you know what, let's go to the Efteling together. In addition to that, there's also conferences all over the world that we try to go to. So every year we try to organize a trip with everyone to Volstem in Brussels, open source conference. But if you're interested in a specific conference yourself, then you can obviously discuss that with your business manager and arrange a trip there. In addition to that, if there's something to celebrate, like a milestone, an important milestone that was achieved with a customer, we like to celebrate that as well, and take them out to lunch sometimes. So in addition to the social events, the knowledge sharing, and the consultancy and engineering, there's a little bit time left over in the year. There's some downtime in between projects, which we call idle time. And that's a good moment to work on internal projects like the ball balancing robot that you may have seen on YouTube. But it's also a good moment to do some self-study, to read up on topics that you might be interested in, but that don't necessarily show up in projects. So a small portion of the time is spent on that in between projects. And of course, very important, about 10% of the time is spent on holiday, and that rounds out the year. So this is what my schedule looked like last year. It's a pretty well-balanced schedule, with enough variety to not be bored, which means that the consultant is happy and ultimately the customer is happy. Right, so that was a brief overview of what a technical software consultant does in a year at Alten, and specifically what I did over the past year. So I'd like to thank you for your time, and if there's any questions, find me somewhere in Spatial Chat. I'll probably be in the technical software meeting room, and otherwise you can look me up in the list on the right and click on my name, and looking forward to meet you guys.
Hi everybody, my name is Ben van Mierlo and today I will tell you guys a little bit about the Alten Delivery Center. First a little bit about myself. I am 35 years old. I have been working for Alten for nearly 11 years now. In 2010 I started as a software engineer. I did many consultancy assignments within multiple of our customers at Alten, and in 2015 I got the opportunity and decided to go to a project manager role within the Alten Delivery Center, which I'm currently still doing. Currently, I'm running 3 projects for one of our customers with about 15 to 20 consultants in total in my teams. Today, I'll be speaking about 3 things. First, what is the delivery center? Second, why do we as Alten think the delivery center is a good thing? And the third is actually not going to be me talking, but a colleague of mine who will tell his journey within the Alten Delivery Center. So let's start with the first. What is the Alten Delivery Center? First, the delivery center is, as opposed to a regular consultancy project, a regular consultancy assignment, within the delivery center, we as Alten execute projects for the customer from beginning to end. So that actually means that we take responsibility for all aspects which are available within a project execution. Begins with resourcing and making sure that the right consultants are working on the project, making sure that there's a planning, that the deliverables are on time, that the quality is high enough, risk management, actually everything which is related to running a project is what we at the delivery center do. So that was the first part. What is the delivery center? Now on to the next part. Why do we think it's a good thing? Well, twofold. First, it gives Alten the opportunity to add more value to the customer than only our regular consultancy activities, which add knowledge and capacity. In the delivery center, we can actually take responsibility over a full project so that the customer has peace of mind that he knows Alten is going to take care of my project, so we don't have to worry about it. So that's good for our customers, good for Alten. But second, it's also good for our consultants, because when you're working in the delivery center, you're actually physically, not now with Corona, but normally physically, at the Alten office. One of our core values at Alten is fun. So if you're at the office, you can experience that yourself, of course. You can meet all your Alten colleagues, you're sitting next to them on a daily basis, which also gives you kind of a fixed work spot instead of going to different customers, different locations. Now you can work for different customers, different projects on your regular work spot within Alten. One other core value of Alten is networking and knowledge. If we have at Alten we have lots of knowledge, lots of people with lots of knowledge. If they are all located in the delivery center, you can actually create an environment for all our consultants to learn from each other. And we have senior engineers at the delivery center, which can actually help multiple projects in gaining knowledge and sharing knowledge, solving problems together, which is beneficial for everybody. And lastly, it gives the opportunity to help our consultants grow. So, for example, if a consultant of Alten wants to be a team lead or a project manager or an architect within the delivery center, we have full responsibility. So if we see the potential in someone, we can actually facilitate that and give someone that opportunity. Like Alten gave me 6 years ago as a project lead. I got that opportunity, I took it, and I still do it. So those are some, not all of them of course, some of the benefits you get from working at a delivery center. If you have more questions about it, please come and ask me in the meeting room after this presentation. But first, as I said, there's a third part. Mark, my colleague, is going to tell his journey in the delivery center. So, Mark, go ahead, it's up to you.
Let me introduce myself. My name is Mark Groeneveld, I am 31 years old, and I'm working as a Scrum Master in the Alten Delivery Center. What I would like to do is share my personal story why I think the Alten Delivery Center is a great place to work for both the experienced and less experienced engineers. So 1 year ago when I joined Alten, I was looking for a new challenge and a bit of a different career path. What I actually wanted to do is I wanted to move more towards product management. So while browsing LinkedIn, I found Alten, and Alten offered an Accelerate program. So let me explain a bit about the Accelerate program. Like Ben already explained, Alten likes to give the opportunity to the consultants to develop their skills, and one of the ways this can be done is actually via the Accelerate program. The Accelerate program is a program for engineers who have between the 3 and 5 years of working experience, and it consists out of 2 tracks. And one of the tracks is product management, and the other track is the software architecture track. For me personally, I wanted to grow towards product management, so I chose the project management track. And this is also where the Alten Delivery Center is a great tool actually. In the Alten Delivery Center, we have multiple customer projects, which will also give opportunities for us. So when I started the Alten Delivery Center, I actually started as a software engineer on one of these projects. And after a few months of working as a software engineer, I got the opportunity to take over the Scrum Master role. So I took it, and taking over the Scrum Master role, that will give you extra responsibilities and even challenges. So to help you with these challenges, you then will get a coach, and this coach can help you also with the process, in my case, from moving from the more technical work to the more product management work. So a year ago, I started working as a software engineer, and now currently I'm working as a full-time Scrum Master for one of our biggest customers in the Alten Delivery Center. So just to show you what is possible if you want to do. So I hope I could give you a little bit of an idea of what is possible in the Alten Delivery Center. And if you have any questions to me or Ben or maybe somebody else, we can always point you in the right direction. So see you in the other rooms, and we are happy to help you. See you there. Bye-bye.
Hi, good afternoon. Welcome at the Meet ALTEN event. My name is Michael de Jonge. I'm a consultant test engineer for ALTEN. So I'll tell you something about the testing we do at our technology department. First, I'll tell something about myself, my personal background, and how I got to ALTEN. I'll tell you something about my current project I'm doing at Focus On, and finally I'll tell you something about the perks of working at ALTEN. First, my personal background. As I said, my name is Michael de Jonge. I'm 28 years old and I'm currently living in Amsterdam. Before Amsterdam, I used to live in Delft, where I studied mechanical engineering as a bachelor at the Delft University of Technology. And afterwards, I did my master's in vehicle engineering. And this is where I started to like programming. But I also figured out that I didn't like programming 5 days a week, because I also wanted a more social team player part role. So then at an in-house day at Alten, I spoke about this with a business manager, and she told me about being a test engineer, where you both need your hard skills in programming, but you also need to be in the middle of the team, connecting with everybody to see both that what is being built by the developers works properly, but also what is being built is what the customer really wants. So there you need a more social role within the team. But besides being a test engineer, in the last few years I also was Scrum Master in a project, and also on my previous assignment I was project lead. Well, in my spare time I really like to do sports. I'm a big fan of running. Currently training for my first marathon in October this year. I had it planned last year, but well, that was cancelled. Also, I like to do bouldering and woodworking, making furniture for myself, but also for friends. Then I'll tell you something about my current project. I'm doing it at Focus On. Focus On is a startup company originated from two big companies. First is Krone on the left. They make flow meters or altimeters, which are devices that can measure the amount of flow through a pipe of both liquids but also gases. And Samsung, a German company, which make industrial valves for the food industry, but also for the petrochemical industry and also for water management. And together they created a startup that's called Focus On. Focus On is making a device that is both a valve and a flow meter, but it also has some pressure and temperature sensors within it. So it can control the valve based on what it measures. So for example, you can set it to have a flow of 50 cubic meters per minute, and then it will automatically change the position of the valve, so 50 cubic meters a minute will flow through it. But also things like cavity can be measured, which is air bubbles within a liquid. And for example, valve wear can be measured with these sensors. Those are features they're currently still working on. Well then, for me as a tester, this is quite a large device, so most of my testing I have to do at the factory of Focus On. Here you can see the device with the red LEDs, and it is situated in a setup called the mini loop, which is basically a small loop filled with water with a pump and a device and a bypass. So this is where I do a lot of my testing. When I started at Focus On, I started working out as the user interface testing, because one of the developers for the user interface was soon to leave. So I started working on this, checking all the different functions, checking it for the different roles, different user roles, and seeing if alarms came up properly. And currently I'm working on some automated test scripts with Behave in order to speed up the regression testing during releases. This is something that is quite new for this startup. They are currently in the phase that they're delivering their first products to customers, mostly test customers. So this is something we still have to streamline this release procedure. And finally, I will tell you something about working at Alten. Alten for me has quite some benefits. First of all, I really like working in consultancy, changing projects every couple of months slash every year. I really like the changing environment. It allows me to bring the most of my knowledge to each and every project, and also it's the way I learn the most from changing from time to time. Furthermore, we do a lot of fun activities with colleagues. For example, we went climbing, we go on winter sport every year, we do game nights, but also a lot of information. We call them kennisavonden, and those are evenings where we exchange information about what we have learned at our projects. So we have very good connections with our own colleagues, despite working a lot at our customers. And also we know who is the expert at what, so whenever we need help at our project, we know who to contact. Furthermore, we have a lot of trainings. We have an Alten Academy, where I followed, for example, last year I did the Scrum Master training. At the project you see me on the right. It was last year. A lot of structure was missing in the team, and I introduced that by introducing Scrum. I had very little prior experience, so with the help of both the training I got from Alten and also some colleagues which coached me, we introduced Scrum at that team. And finally, I really like the frequent contact I have with both my business manager, but also with with the technical managers. My business manager we talk a lot about how my project is going, what are my challenges, and how can I work on them, and who I can contact with if I have some difficulties, but also just a very good personal contact, and also the TM/coaches, which are a big help whenever you find something that you don't know yet how to handle. Good. Those are some of my big perks of working at Alten. If you have any questions, I'll be at the meeting room in the Spatial Chat. Feel free to go to me and ask me about anything you want.
Hi, my name is Rob Twijma, and I want to tell you something about what it's like to work at Alten. I'm a consultant embedded system engineering, working for the Mechatronics department of Alten. And in my daily work, I work on schematics, creating PCB layouts, and also writing firmware for embedded systems. Before coming to Alten, I studied electronic engineering in Enschede. I worked at the high-power laboratory of DMV Kima, blowing stuff up and measuring what the result was. I worked as an electronics engineer at BD Kiestra, and then I joined Alten in 2015, and I started at my first assignment at Panalytical, and I will tell you something about what I did there. And in 2016, I went to Click Software, where I am currently still working, and I will tell you about what I have done there. So what's the consultancy part of your job? Consultancy can be several things. So for example, in some particular cases, you can just give advice. So supply the client with information to help them with their project. You can also give support. The support is, for example, helping them with their upkeep of their CAD software, for example, like Altium or a mechanical CAD system. You can also be asked to do some troubleshooting for a client, so find issues in their design and help find a solution, because they can figure it out themselves and need some expertise, or develop a product or solution from A to Z based on the client specifications. So why choose for consultancy over fixed employment? I want to be able to explore different divisions within the electronic engineering branch. So, for example, I want to work on automotive electronics, medical electronics for medical appliances, robotics, and in the high-tech industry. So to see a lot of different technologies, learn a lot about the different technologies which are used in different divisions, and be able to use that mix of technologies to excel and become a recognized expert in my field. In a career, you want to go from point to point, just like on a PCB, where you have to put traces in to get signals or power from one point to another. I would like to show you the layout of my career at Alten so far. So I started at Analytical as an FPGA expert because I had some knowledge from a previous assignment at a different company. And then I started there and I worked on the system on chip development and as a firmware developer. After finishing that project, I went to KNS and I went there as an Altium expert. So a completely different expertise which was asked, and that's how I started there. I also did some PCB layout work. Once the PCB layout was satisfactory, I also asked them, maybe we should do the schematics also at the client side. And they agreed. So we had now had a discipline of electronics engineering. So we did the schematics and the PCB layouts ourselves, something which was usually done by outsourcing it to different companies. Next, I challenged them we should write the firmware for small embedded systems. Also, the firmware was something they never did themselves. They always outsourced it. Then we introduced FPGA programming in a project where we got some hardware from KNS from Singapore, and the FPGA code was not satisfactory and we could not get it through the certification process. And due to the knowledge I had and experience from working as an FPGA expert at Analytical, I could convince them we could rewrite it ourselves and make it work. As we worked on several embedded projects, the number of boards were growing which had firmware on it. And so the question came, can we also develop an embedded platform which will enable reuse? So then I changed the role to an embedded system architect and chose the system which we're going to use for developing the firmware and also the hardware which we would use in the majority of our projects. An example of the projects which you can work on, for example, is the feature project which I've been working on at the client for almost 3 years. The feeder is a part of a pick and place system which delivers the components and aligns them so the machine can pick them up and put them on the PCB. Within the feeder project, we had to develop 2 trolleys with different widths, a family of feeders, production and repair tooling, and I had a role as lead electronic engineer and I was responsible for the architecture of the feeder platform and also for the electrocompatibility with the existing pick and place system. The challenging part of this project was the low cost and high performance mechatronic nature of the project. And we had a very limited space within the feeders. You can imagine if you have a feeder of 10 millimeters wide and you have a tape running through it with 8 millimeters width, there's not a lot of space left for PCBs and everything to connect everything together. Next to that, there was a very strict cost price for all the electronics, and that was a challenging part as well. So This is a high volume product within a machine building environment, which makes it a pretty neat project to work on. So part of the feeder project was tooling, and the tooling is used to determine whether a feeder is correctly produced or if it's correctly repaired. I worked on the schematics, the layout, and the firmware, integrate everything into an embedded system, and make sure I had the Ethernet connection to the PC. But then I ran into a problem because I had to get the information out of the Ethernet into the user interface, but it was written in Python. I don't know a lot about snakes. I don't know a lot about Python, so I had to get the knowledge. Luckily for me, I work at Alten, home of the engineers, so I could reroute my question and into Alten, where I could find a colleague who's an expert in Python, and he could help me get the missing link. And in that way, I could help the client by having experienced colleagues at Alten. So what makes Alten different from other employers? And this is from my perspective as a consultant. They focus on your ambition. So they continuously ask, where do you want to go? How can we help you reach your goals? So that's a really big focus point of the business manager when you are talking about, okay, where do you want to go? Bi-monthly contact with the manager. So you have frequent contact with your manager to assess if you want to have extra knowledge or you need tools to do your job properly. And that's something which is, in my opinion, sets it apart from other employers. And you have expert colleagues just a phone call away, just as I demonstrated in the previous slide. And Unity, there's a lot of interaction between the colleagues within Alten on the monthly meetings. Within knowledge groups, so the knowledge groups are open to attend for all colleagues within Alten. So for example, if I want to attend a knowledge group of the software engineering, I can just attend it to learn more about software engineering. But if they want to know more about, for example, electronic engineering or just mechatronics, they will attend a knowledge group given by a consultant or colleague from the mechatronics department, for example. Basic focuses on the consultants under 30, and the focus within basics is on getting colleagues who just started or are starting in their career to motivate them and help them with the training, of their soft skills and a lot of fun, active events. And the social events like the Christmas dinner and all those things, which are very nicely organized within Alten. So, yeah, that makes working at Alten a lot of fun. And they're committed. They're committed to help you reach your potential. So they really want to see you get to the best you can be and invest in your personal growth and in your technical growth. So if you have any questions or just want to chat about the life of an engineer, just reach out to me in Spatial Chat after the presentations or contact one of my colleagues and they will be able to provide you with answers, or they will just say, go to Robert, but let's have a chat. So thank you for your attention, and I hope to see you, and thank you for your time.